Hi everybody, welcome back to the Night Owl Chronicles YouTube channel.
Welcome back everyone. We hope you've had a really good week. Last week we did a lot of Q&A about some, we answered a lot of questions from people around the globe, so thank you for that. We have received some new questions and we promise that we will, in a future episode, answer all those questions. But in the meantime, we are going to continue on reading from The Door, which is our book one. It's the first one in the Night Owl Chronicles series. And so just to have a recap of what happened in chapter 6, which was titled I Am Your Friend and Your Enemy, we see how Josh confronts Amanda Wolf. At one point he's convinced that she is the one doing all these late night pranks, knocking at the door, and that evil eye that he sees on the other side, through the peephole and all this, and he confronts her. He's upset about that. Then he goes to school because he feels a little bit bad for what he did, and she taunts him even more. The police gets called again at the end of the chapter, and they say, if you call us again, we're going to call your parents and all this. He talks to to Dr. Young again when we saw her in chapter 1. He tells her about this and all that. So there's a lot happens in chapter 6. So now, because it's titled Replaced, we're going to see, well, what is going to get replaced. So,
All right, so
yeah.
chapter 7 today, called Replaced. I'll start off. Here we go. I wanted to open the front door. I wanted to see it open. I needed to see the outside world and every person walking by. I knew why. I hated the door closed. I hated its potential to scare me, to hurt me, to give me no sleep, to question everything. Well, I couldn't believe that I was afraid of an old door. A door that was God knows how old. How had I let myself come to this? I felt like a small, scared child who was afraid of the boogeyman. I dashed upstairs, remembering fragments of last night and all the events that had taken place. I could feel my skin crawling and my blood turning cold. I reached for the golden handle and opened the door, almost afraid to see what was waiting for me on the other side.
My shoulders slumped with relief when the only thing greeting me was the morning sun that caressed my skin. It felt so good, so comforting, and so safe. It hadn't been this sunny in such a long time. Even though the morning air had a crisp chill, the sun covered my body like a warm blanket, and it felt great. After a few short minutes of admiring the golden rays of the sun as they danced through the thick, luscious clouds, the sun disappeared. Darkness pushed through again. It was the kind of darkness in which everything went grey and dull. Nothing glowed anymore. Even the neighbour's dog, which pranced by every morning, looked old and dirty. I was suddenly feeling cold and unsettled, as if something dangerous was coming my way again. Damn it, when's the sun coming back, I thought. I needed its light, its warmth, and its vibrant energy. Now all I had was the greyness before me, the dullness, the foreboding of something terrible coming only for me. A light breeze suddenly swept in, making me shiver slightly. I was wearing only light blue shorts and a white t-shirt. The breeze picked up, making the door creak behind me. It moved on its own, back and forth, ever so softly. As I rubbed my tired eyes, I went back inside, but something on the front door caught my attention. What the hell is that? I asked myself, breaking the cold morning silence. I leaned in closer to the door, and my skin crawled. Deep scratches covered the door, splitting the wood in different places. Why hadn't I seen it before, I thought. This can't be happening.
My cold hands traced over the scratches. I was horrified to see not only aggressive scratches, but deep dents across the door. Someone or something was very angry. I stepped back and held my breath. trying to remember if the door had always been like this. Was it always in such bad shape? I wondered. No, it was never like this. I would have noticed it before. Of all the times I stood in front of the house, in front of the door, contemplating my life and how much I hated this place, I have never seen this damage. I hadn't even been there last night. I was sure of it. This can't be happening, I whispered to myself, feeling trapped in some torturous nightmare. The more I looked over the long scratches and deep rounded dents, the more I sensed anger from whoever had done this. I needed answers. This was getting out of hand, and it had to stop. I'd heard someone behind me, riding a bicycle on the road. The man stared at me with a slight frown, possibly wondering why I was outside in my shorts, staring at the front door. If only you knew, if only everyone knew. Before going inside, I wondered for a second whether I should call Mum and tell her about what was happening here. I decided not to, because I knew she was stressed out about Uncle Anthony. I took my phone from my deep pocket and checked the app again for any strange activity. Maybe I had missed something. The app loaded, and I panned back a few hours to when I'd heard the banging. There was nothing to see. Nothing at all. How could that be? I fast-forwarded the storage to when the officers had left.
The only thing I could do was gasp in horror when I saw changes happening on the door. I could see scratches appearing out of nowhere. An invisible entity was causing all of those marks. No, I repeated, almost dropping my phone. Then I saw the door getting dented. My body started to shake. It was a surge of adrenaline coursing through my veins. I can't accept this. There must be an answer to all of this, I said. I stepped inside. The house felt very cold. It felt so empty without my parents, my friends, and Emma. I rubbed my arms to bring some warmth back to them, and as I closed the door, a small splinter from the edge of the door pricked my thumb. Ouch, damn it, I complained, sucking my thumb as blood quickly escaped. The sharp pulsating pain went away, but before I could remove the small piece of loose wood, something caught my eye. The entire outer edge of the door didn't look right. It looked like someone had carved something into it, and it went all the way around the edges of the door. What is that? I thought. I pressed my thumb into the palm of my other hand to stop it from bleeding. I leaned in more and saw the most unusual thing. The entire edge of the door had mysterious carvings on them. They looked like symbols, ancient symbols, that twirled and connected with one another. Some symbols were singular, while others were joined, as if to tell a story. This can't be good, I said with a certainty, as I opened the camera on my phone and snapped away. One particular symbol was a spiral, with one line crossed in the middle. And another one was a simple rectangle with a star at the base. There were so many symbols, I roughly estimated more than 200.
They were tiny and detailed and carved deeply into the wood. Still, how had I not noticed them before? How long had they been there? Did my parents know about this? No, I bet they didn't know. They would have questioned it before purchasing the house. I guess the only reason I saw it now was because the door was on an angle and the dull light from outside made these symbols stand out. There was something about the door that scared me. It was the scratches, the dents, the door handle moving, the unexplained knocking, the thumpy, and now this. Strange symbols I've never seen before. What on earth did these strange symbols mean? I took at least 20 photos, ensuring that I captured each one. I wanted to know what they meant. I clicked on Safari and typed symbols on the Google text box. No images matched, so I tried ancient etchings, demonic symbols, but to no avail. Suddenly, my phone vibrated. Mum was calling. "Hi, Mum. How are you?" Silence on the other side. "Hello? Can you hear me, Mum?" I repeated, but again, there was no answer. I could hear someone sniffing on the other side. "Hi, Josh," she finally answered. I could tell she'd been crying. Her nose sounded running, and her voice was broken. "Is everything all right?" I asked. "No, Josh, nothing's all right," she said. "What happened?" I asked, suddenly feeling dread in the pit of my stomach. "It's your uncle. He..." "What?" I asked.
Mum started to sob, and I could hear Dad telling her to give him the phone, but she kept refusing. "He what? Mum," I repeated. "Your uncle's passed away. I'm sorry, Josh. He didn't make it." I didn't respond. I didn't breathe, move, or think. I was suddenly numb all over. It was as if time had finally caught up with me and pressed the pause button. "He's gone," I whispered underneath my breath, loud enough for Mum to hear. "I'm sorry. I know it hurts. We're hurting too," she said. I knew that it had taken every last ounce of her strength to say that. I was so sad, so distraught. I felt like an empty vessel that had been filled with nothing but sorrow. Uncle Anthony was gone. I would never see him again, speak to him, and exchange jokes and experiences. He was gone, never to be seen or heard from again. "We'll be coming home soon. We're very sorry that we can't be there with you," she said. "I'll be all right," I said. What a pathetic white lie. I wouldn't be all right. "Who are you staying with?" she asked. "I'm staying with Chris," I said, lying again. "Good. I have to go, Josh. I'm just too sad to talk," Mum said. Her voice sounded weak. "I understand. I'm really sorry," I replied, but she clicked off without saying goodbye. I softly closed the door behind me and stood there in complete silence. Maybe I was having some sort of delayed reaction, but I knew my emotions would eventually catch up with me. They always did. I'd have to deal with myself soon enough.
Now we cut to a new scene. Josh at the hardware store. "Can't be that hard," I said to myself, staring at all the different types of doors before me. I had no clue which one to choose. Most were light-colored doors. Some had beautiful designs on them. There was an ugly red door, a pale pink door, and some white ones. Geez, I thought it'd be easier to pick a new door, I thought. There were at least 50 doors on display, each with its own price tag. I wanted something completely different, but also something to suit the house. I knew Mum and Dad were going to instantly question me about why I had changed the front door, but I honestly didn't care. I wanted it gone. I figured that doing this would be a good distraction from my silent sadness that kept growing. "Hello there, young man. Welcome to Eddie's hardware place. Do you need any help?" A bearded old man approached me with a smile. He wore denim overalls and his brown boots were covered with specks of white paint. "Yeah, I do need help," I replied. "You need a new door?" he asked. "That's right." "Is there a particular style that you are looking for?" he asked.
Well, I stopped. That was a good question. I didn't know anything about doors. I just wanted that creepy one at home gone. "Well, I'm thinking of something very simple," I said. "Would you prefer a door that isn't painted in any fancy colour?" he asked. "I guess so. Show me what you've got." "Let me show you," he said, scratching his white beard, which looked dry and crunchy. We walked all the way toward the end of the row where all the wooden doors were displayed. I guess I was gravitating toward that particular style because it was similar to the door at home and my parents wouldn't be so shocked. Then again, maybe they wouldn't even notice that I had replaced the door. But who was I kidding? Of course they'd notice. Should I tell them the truth? Of course not. They would most likely see me as some kind of crazy person. The salesperson shifted through several doors and pulled one out for me. How about this one? He asked. It's all right, I replied. It was a pale door with tulips carved on the side panels. No etchings on the door for me, please, I thought. What else do you have? I continued. Well, we have a wide variety. All of these doors are sturdy and give the front of the house an overall lift, he explained. I walked in closer. I began to study and touch all the doors, but none of them felt right. So many doors, I said. May I ask why someone as young as you is shopping for a door? Shouldn't you be at the mall or the arcade?
Maybe, but I'm more interested in buying a door today, I replied, not caring what he thought. Hey, what about this one? I asked, pointing to the second last door. That one is more expensive, as you can see, he said, referring to a photo that was attached to the door. It comes with its own glass side panels so light can come through. You still get your own privacy because the actual glass has a lightly blurred effect, so no one can see inside. It also comes with double bolts for extra security. I like it, I said, feeling pleased. Is your front door broken? He asked. No, it's fine. I just want to change it. Very well. Looking at the photo that displayed the glass side windows made me smile for some reason. I loved it. It was perfect. The added glass was an excellent feature and the overall structure of the door was strong and sturdy. I want to take this door, I said. I can arrange that, he said. I want it now, I added without blinking. Well, I have to see if we have that particular style in stock. This one's just for display. If we don't have any in the back, you have to wait until we make it for you, and they'll take up at least a week, he said. I'll take the display, I said. I can't do that, son, he replied, placing his chubby hands on his hips. Let me check the back room for stock. Please, I said, taking my wallet out from the back pocket. The price of the door was $350.
I'd paid for the door with the money I had earned over the summer. I was an assistant painter for one of my dad's clients. It wasn't a bad job. I had to help carry all the materials and paint some walls that were high enough for me to reach. I thought it was a good idea to give it a try. At least I could see how hard it is to earn money. I assume the attackers had missed that memo. The salesman walked back and I saw that his name tag read Eddie. I wondered if he was the owner of the hardware store. The store stocked everything from paint, wood, to flowers and even doors. It had them all. I'm sorry to say, but that particular door is out of stock, but we can make it for you, he said. The only issue is that you would have to wait. And you seem very keen to have this door right now. Oh, I said. Do you mind waiting? He asked. Honestly, no. I'm more than happy to take the display now. But I told you we don't sell display doors. I'll pay you an extra $100, I interrupted. That showed. There was a moment of silence between us and Eddie as he contemplated what to do. You've got a deal, he said. Wow, money does talk, I thought. I knew I could have picked any other door, but they just didn't match this ugly house. They were too pretty and bright. Now, do you need someone to install it, or are you a handyman yourself, he asked. I prefer someone did it for me, today if possible.
That shouldn't be a problem. I'll ask Larry to come out and get your details. He'll install the new door for you. Thanks, I really need it, Josh said. Cut to a new scene now. where Larry's at Josh's house to install the new door. By the time Larry arrived at my house, it was almost 4:30 p.m. and darkness was at the edge of the street. "Thanks for coming on such short notice," I said to Larry as he unpacked his tools. "It's my job." He was very tall and slim and had long, prominent nose. "Eddie told me that you need this door installed as soon as possible?" "Yes, I do," I said. "What happened here?" he asked, pointing to the front door. God, how I hate that front door and all of those scratches, dents, and mysterious markings. "Some kids vandalized the door," I replied. "Did they use knives?" Larry asked. "I don't know, maybe," I replied. "You make sure to keep all your doors locked. It's one thing when they vandalize property, but when they've got knives..." "I know," I said, cutting him off. "There are lots of lunatics out there." "Do your parents know about this? I don't want to get into any trouble," Larry said. "It's fine. I want to change it. I've paid Eddie for the door and the installation."
"I see," Larry said, raising both his eyebrows. I could tell he was somewhat baffled by the appearance of the front door. I bet he'd never seen anything like that before. If none of this had ever happened, I'd be at the mall, enjoying my life and senior year. "How long will it take?" I asked, feeling impatient. "Not long, maybe half an hour, give or take." Perfect. Before I turned back to walk inside, Larry called out to me from his van. "What do you want me to do with it?" "Excuse me?" I asked back. "The door. What do you want me to do with your original door?" "Take it to the yard. I'll help you." "Suit yourself," he said. I was happy. No. I was ecstatic that that piece of wooden garbage would be destroyed. I had a feeling, a very strong feeling. The moment I changed the front door, things would go back to normal. Everything would be all right. I could feel it. Larry was busy hammering in the front. He had explained to me moments earlier that the new door was slightly smaller than the original one and that he would have to adjust the door frame so that it would all fit properly. I agreed, but it cost me $100 more for the labor. Now it was almost 5:30 p.m. and the oncoming darkness was well and truly here. It was above the entire street, above my house, above me. "All done, Mr. Riley," Larry said as he placed his tools back in the toolbox. Sawdust covered most of the porch. "What do you think?" he asked.
I walked out, closed the door behind me, walked down the front porch and turned around. A smile grew on my face. It looked much better than the original door. I liked the new doorknob that I had picked out. It was a simple silver doorknob. "Well, you like?" he asked again. "Yes, Larry, I like it very much. Thank you again for coming," I said. "Anytime, young man. You have yourself a good night. Remember, lock your doors," he said. "I will. Thank you," I said with a smile. "I love this door," I added. Larry looked at me weirdly. He probably thought I had some sort of door fetish. "Thanks for taking the other door to the yard." He waved his hand as he started the van and drove off. Larry turned on his headlights because it was getting dark. As soon as he turned away from Chronicle Street, I dashed back inside and closed the door behind me. The new door felt light. I walked toward the kitchen and opened the back door that led to the yard. There it was, lying on the grass, the old ugly door. It had to go. Dark clouds made the pool look almost black and oily. Thick shadows started to appear and I had a hard time seeing past the pool. I opened the shed and took an axe that was hanging on the wall. It was heavy and had small cobwebs covering the handle. I brushed them away and took a firm hold of it with both my hands. For some reason, I felt strong, empowered, and determined to destroy the door. I wouldn't sleep until the door was in small, unidentifiable pieces. "Here we go, one chop at a time," I said to myself.
I raised the axe high above my head, feeling the icy chill underneath my arms, and made the first chop. The axe hit the middle of the door and it barely went through. I thought it'd be easier, I said to myself. I'd forgotten how heavy and thick the door was. I raised the axe and swung again. This time the axe went in more, but I knew this was not going to be easy. I would have to work very, very hard. The wood seemed to have muscles, so I started chopping away at the edges, fraying the door one chop at a time. I was sweaty and hot, yet my skin felt cold from the chilly breeze. Come on, Josh, keep going. Don't stop, don't give up, I said with every swing. It was hard to remove the axe from the door because it was getting deeper with every blow. It felt so good doing this, the constant chopping, the wood splintering, the breaking. I literally felt my fears and my frustrations breaking down with every swing. Eventually, the door started to split into two. About time, I cried out with a sigh. By 6:30 p.m, it was pitch black. I stopped for a second to turn on the backyard light so I could see where my axe was hitting, but the darkness didn't faze me anymore because I was almost done. The door was now in several pieces and my arms were hurting. Every muscle burned. That'll do, I said, finally lowering my axe. I stood above the disfigured door, huffing and puffing. It's time to torch you, I added.
I returned to the shed again and grabbed the gasoline container that Dad had for his ride-on mower. I walked back and wiped my nose. It was running from the cold weather and my cheeks felt like ice. I unscrewed the cap and doused the door with a gorgeous flammable liquid, the only ingredient left to destroy this abomination. I took a lighter from my pocket and neared the flame to the door. Red hot fire instantly formed, bringing warmth to my body. I stood with a profound feeling of relief and peace. I could hear the crackle of the wood as it slowly turned black, and I was surprised by how large the flames were. "You're toast," I whispered, laughing at my corny punchline. The smell of burning wood stuffed my wet nose, forcing me to stand back several feet. It would take some time for the flames to die down. After all, I had just created a bonfire in my backyard. I sat on Mum's favorite wooden bench that was placed against the fence near the rose bush garden and watched. The red and orange flames danced around the door, consuming its pathetic existence. "It's over," I said with a big smile. But something startled me, something that made me straighten up with full alertness. "I hate you! Leave me alone!" a young girl shouted next door. "Don't you dare talk to me like that! I'm your mother!" "You're not my mother! You're my stepmother! Big difference!" the young girl shouted again.
I stood up when I heard one of them slam the back door. I didn't want them to know I was there, listening to their argument. As the fire did what it had to do, I leaned my head in, but I jumped back when someone on the other side punched the fence. "I hate you! I hate you so much!" the young girl cried out. I couldn't help myself. I had to see who it was. I was too curious. Before I could, the girl's stepmother opened the back door again. "You will do exactly as I say, whether you like it or not. Don't forget that I married your father. Understand? We're supposed to be a family." "We're not family, and you know that," she said. "We used to be until you came along and ruined everything. Leave me alone," she shouted back. The stepmother said nothing but slammed the door behind her again. I stood up on the bench and kept my head low enough so the girl wouldn't see me. I heard her crying hard and mumbling something, but her tears were too loud for me to understand. Her footsteps travelled away from me, and I slowly raised myself up at eye level. I couldn't find her. I noticed their backyard was big like ours, and they too had a ride-on mower, just like Dad's. "What are you doing?" the girl asked in the darkness. She startled me so much that I fell backward, landing on my back, feeling super embarrassed. "Pervert," she said. "Oh shit," I blurted out, rubbing my lower back as I slowly raised myself up. I asked, "What are you doing?" the girl repeated. I could tell she was annoyed by the tone in her voice.
I'm sorry. I heard shouting and... That's none of your business, she snapped back. I looked up and instantly recognized her. It was Isabel from school. She was in my English class, but I'd never spoken to her. She'd always sit in the back smelling of cigarettes. I had no idea she lived next door to me. Do you need help? She asked. No, I'll be fine, I said. Making a bonfire for one? She sarcastically asked. I looked at her, and as I stood up, fire reflected in her eyes. Yeah, you could say that, I said. What are you burning? She asked, wiping away her tears. I'm burning a door, I said. Why? Isabel asked. Long story. I've got time. I'm not going anywhere. You're Josh, right? Isabel asked. That's me. I watched as she brushed her brown hair back. Her eye makeup was smeared across her face from crying. What's going on with your mother? I asked. Stepmother, Isabel said, instantly correcting me. Oh, right, sorry. What happened? Isabel sighed. She's always in my face about everything. I'm going to hang out with my friends at the park tonight, and she's suddenly opposed to it. I'm only going there to drink and hang out. She doesn't know about the drinking part though, Isabel said. Why do you drink? I asked. Why not? Isabel replied.
I don't know, I said, feeling that she'd only drink to suppress her emotions. She looked tense and deeply bothered. And my stepbrother, Jason, she continued with another sigh. What about him? I asked. I can't stand being next to him. It feels like I'm suffocating every time I'm with him. I miss my real mum. Where is she? I asked. She passed away, Isabella replied, looking down. Life sucks sometimes. I'm with you on that, I said. Anyway, I told you my story. Tell me yours. What's with the burning door? Are you like into arson? I turned back and saw the charred door lying on the wet grass. I stopped. Where would I begin? Come on, tell me the truth, Isabel said, lighting up a cigarette. She wanted to look like a badass, but I sensed she had a good heart. She was just misunderstood and trying to survive her dysfunctional family. I can't imagine my parents dating other people. It would be so weird. The door was too old. It needed a change. That's all. Fine, she said. Don't tell me the truth. Ready to lower herself from the fence. Wait, don't go, I said. Why? You're obviously not going to tell me the truth. Have you been experiencing anything unusual lately? I asked her. In my house? All the time.
No, I mean like weird things. Has anyone been knocking at your front door or ringing your doorbell late at night? I asked. No, why do you ask? Isabel questioned. Someone's been doing that to me. Is that why you're burning the door? If someone's messing with you in the middle of the night, burning the door won't fix it. You've got to wait for them outside and catch them, Isabel said. I know. Are you sure no one's been bothering you and your family? I can safely say with confidence that no one's been messing with us, except for my evil bitch of a stepmother. She's messing with me all the time. I hate her so much, Isabel said. I hope things get better for you, I said, and I hope no one comes knocking at your door unless it's someone legit, Isabel said. I hope so. Look, I have to go. Evelyn's probably going to give me another task to complete tonight. I feel like Cinderella, Isabel said. I'll see you at school. Sure, see ya, Isabel said, lowering herself. Isabel slammed the back door. I turned back to the flames. I stared at what was left of the door. Scratches and dents don't appear out of nowhere, I thought. Now that the door had been destroyed, I was looking forward to moving on. I didn't care to find out what the symbols meant. They were gone, destroyed, never to be seen again. That was all that mattered to me now. I knew I had removed the source of the nightmare. The seed of evil was gone. It was done. It was over. I had won. Oh, and that is the end of chapter 7.
Yeah, so
That was actually a good chapter.
it was. So that's why it's appropriately titled Replaced. And Josh now believes that by taking out this ugly cursed door with these strange symbols and unexplained dents and scratches on it, and replacing it with a fresh door, that things are going to get good. So it's he's got hope for it, and burning the door for him is almost symbolic. He was burning away all of his fears, his sadness, his frustration, and burning away that fear of the unknown about why all this stuff was happening to the door. And yes, we got introduced to Isabel Humphrey. That's his neighbor. They go to school together, and yes, she looks like a badass. She's got a terrible relationship with her stepmother, Evelyn. But yes, now we all know, as we've told you before, Isabel gets her own story in book 2. So it's
Interesting.
this family tree that we've created. She's got her own story now, and she's a protagonist for book 2, Cinema 4. So next week we are going to be reading chapter 8, which is actually titled, again very appropriately, It Won't Stop. So obviously you can imagine, in the world of the Night Owl Chronicles, nothing good ever comes for our characters. So it was a very physically taxing for Josh, with the axe and chopping away, because the door was very thick though, we kind of think that if we get an axe and we keep chopping away, it's just going to be easy, but it's actually not that easy.
Well, has Josh made things better or worse? That's the question.
That is the question, like we said before, by taking out this door, replacing it, and it doesn't have any history on it, are things going to get better for him, or are they going to get worse? And, what about Isabel Humphrey? We're going to revisit her again in another chapter, so it is kind of like this cobweb that we've created with characters now, and we will find out next week what's going to happen with Josh. So it's I kind of found that this chapter was a bit more intense because his desperation to get rid of that door. He didn't want to go to sleep with that door. He didn't want to go downstairs another morning to see that door. He wanted it replaced. And I think he's kind of at a point now where he actually doesn't care what his parents think.
Yeah,
he just wanted it gone.
He's just, I agree with you on that. He's in that point in his life where he just doesn't care what his parents will think. And I think what made him replace the door more was when he looked at the app and he found that the dent and the scratches, there was no one behind the door,
But the question is though,
So-
is it all in his head?
Yeah.
That's the problem, is it really happening? Is it all in his head, really? Or is whoever's doing it, if they're a prankster, they're actually absolute pros at this. They should be doing it as a full-time job. So, there is 3 possibilities here. So, you will find out very soon. We will give you the answers if you stay tuned.
We always leave the reader with a bit of a cliffhanger, though.
Cliffhangers are good.
Which is so true.
Yeah.
All right, but thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We appreciate you all. Join us again next week for chapter 8. We will be back at the studio as well. And
yes, you've noticed we are change of location for last week's episode and this week's episode. But yes, as Sam said, we will be back at the studio. And we will read chapter 8 for you. So you will find out what's going to happen to poor Josh.
no worries. Okay.
Excellent.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
And follow the owl.
Follow the owl, everyone. Bye.
Bye.